Ecclesiastes says, I said to myself, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has great experience of wisdom and knowledge. Please pray with me. Creator God, you are the source of all wisdom. You know everything. You make all things possible. In your might and power, you set the stars in the galaxies, and you cause mountains to rise up out of the sea. In your love, you know each of us and count the hairs on our heads. You know why we are here today. And because you love us, you are here to celebrate with us. Thank you for this day of celebration, for these graduates who know the joy of accomplishing a goal that was long and difficult to attain. Thank you for their teachers who sacrificed to be here because they love learning and teaching and find joy in sharing what they learn with others. Thank you for this place devoted to knowledge. Thank you for these family and friends of graduates who have supported their efforts and who celebrate with them. Forgive us for ways in which we have failed, for things we haven't learned, and for things we didn't teach. In your presence here, we ask you to bless these graduates. Give them wisdom to use the skills and knowledge they have gained in ways that honor you and help your world rather than hurt it. As they join the educated elite of our society, give them compassion, unity, and respect for those who have not been so blessed. Guide them toward meaningful vocations and give them jobs right now. Give them lives rich in loving relationships and comfort them now as they say goodbye to good friends. Let them be still and know that you are God, and uphold them always with your free spirit. Bless the parents, grandparents, spouses, children, other relatives, and friends of these graduates. Keep them flexible to adjust to the changes marked by this day, whether that means a graduating son moving back home to live, a graduating daughter moving halfway across the country, a graduating mother who will start to be home every Saturday morning, or any of the other changes that you know are coming. Guide this place. Keep Augsburg focused on its mission, centered in your will, and alive in the warm and grateful memories of each of us. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Good afternoon. This is a good afternoon. It's a good afternoon for lawns and flowers and all growing things. Some of you who were in the service a long time ago recognize that one key to success is found in the words modify and adjust. And that's what's been going on now. I have no idea, for example, where the president's reception will be, but we'll decide that by the time this program is over. My name is Charles Anderson. I'm the president of this school, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this commencement service. We are very proud of these women and men who have completed this phase, underlined, this phase of their learning. And we are very grateful to all of you who have made their successes possible. This is the 124th year of Augsburg's life. And we hope that, as is the case with some good wines, added years mean getting better and not just older. Today's class, with over 540 graduates, is the largest in our 124-year history. Presiding at commencement is like presiding at a faculty meeting, except commencement is usually more orderly. That's an inside joke for faculty. It's really a lot like being a traffic officer, except for fancier clothes and for the fact that no one here is armed. I'm simply supposed to get things started, to keep the traffic moving, to prevent major accidents and bring us all home at a reasonable time. Woody Allen, known recently for other matters, once suggested, "The world is full of opportunities and threats. The secret of life is to seize the opportunities, avoid the threats, and get home by supper time." We'll keep that in mind. It is a great personal pleasure to be able to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. David Wood. David is no stranger to Augsburg. He was a member of the English faculty here for 11 years and was selected for an Outstanding Faculty Award in 1973. Although he is no longer in the classroom, I'm not sure he has ever really recovered from being a teacher. His writing always exhibits clarity and humor, and he continues to educate in the best sense. Some might even look at him with envy, for except for the pressures of press deadlines, some tensions with unions and exasperation with management, David Wood has what might be seen as an ideal life, at least by academic standards. He is making a career out of being well-read and then telling people about it. Dr. Wood is a prodigious writer. As the book review editor of the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, he has to produce a weekly column. He has a bi-weekly column in a national family magazine. He's written 6 books about the upper Midwest, including the delightful piece called Telling Tales Out of School, a book about Augsburg based on interviews with about 60 alumni who graduated between 1920 and 1975. His work has been printed in the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, the San Francisco Herald-Examiner, and the Reader's Digest, and the list could go on. His formal teaching career concluded at Augsburg, but before that, he taught at Bowling Green, Augustana, Illinois State, Wisconsin State, and Ball State universities. You can read more about him in your program. I note finally that he finds relaxation in playing the tuba in a couple of local bands. While some groups have names that are rather grand, like the Canadian Brass, the Royal Norwegian Band, the Westchester Wind Ensemble, one of Dave's bands or groups is refreshingly called, quote, the Better Than Nothing Dirt Band. They not only play great Dixieland, they have made, and this information is not from the speaker, they have made donations of over $20,000 to the Children's Hospital thus far. Last Sunday, his column described 2 books on college humor. I'm sure that some of that material will still be in his memory as he speaks to us today on A Graduation Remembered. Please welcome Dr. David Wood. Did I tell the truth?
Good afternoon. Thank you, President Anderson, for a rather elaborate introduction. Ever since I read teacher and humorist Richard Armour's books about college years ago, I've always been impressed by the big mace that Professor Joan Griffin carried down the aisle today. Armour writes in one of his books that the mace is carried at all graduations as a symbolic reminder to the faculty to keep in line. Armour also writes that the mace formerly had big spikes sticking out of it, but that they were eventually removed after repeated complaints by the American Association of University Professors. When I arrived at this college in 1969, they'd have needed a far, far bigger mace than the one carried today to keep that Augsburg faculty in line. President Anderson's already made reference to faculty meetings here. Back then, the faculty was a contentious lot. They argued about everything from whether or not we should allow faculty or students to return from vacations on the Sabbath, to whether or not an urban college should have an urban studies program. Some of us even wanted to have, instead of an urban studies program, an urbane studies program. Unfortunately, that was not to be. Well, probably fortunately. I'm, of course, honored to be here at this graduation at Augsburg, an institution which has meant so much to my wife, who's here today, and to me for almost a quarter of a century. I'm worried, however, that accepting the invitation to speak might have been a big mistake. The late A. Bartlett Giametti, former president of Yale, once said, and I quote, "Commencement speeches are often as difficult to endure as they are to deliver." Thus, I worry about wearing out a welcome here that has over the years always been so generously extended to Ruth and to me. After accepting President Anderson's invitation to speak, I then called his secretary, Carolyn Canfield, and asked her for advice about what to do. "Keep it short," said Carolyn curtly. "Very short." I think that's wonderful advice after last week. Last week, Ruth and I attended the graduation of our nephew at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, one of America's great universities. The speaker delivered himself of a 35-minute speech at about 800 syllables a second. The celebrants last weekend learned what a miserable world they had inherited from their parents, how they had better buckle down and make up for the sins of their fathers and mothers and those who came before. They learned that this cowardly nation had better get right into Bosnia-Herzegovina, lest the snail darter and the spotted owl became extinct. There were some tense moments after the first half hour. Judging from the response of the audience and the Wisconsin State Journal's story on the front page the next day, I'm going to take Carolyn Canfield's advice. So if this speech is too short, blame her. First, I'm going to get commencement's typical excess verbal baggage out of the way. I want you to listen to these words carefully and retain them. You of the younger generation, freedom, liberty, your distinguished president, your distinguished dean, you leaders of tomorrow, if I may just take a few more minutes, technological advances unthought of in years past, the future is in your hands. This great institution, the Distinguished Board of Regents, in conclusion, as you go forth, oh, hold on here, it's not going to be that short. And finally, not for you should be the easy path. Now that's over with. I promise you'll never hear those phrases again in this little address. Let's get down to business. The title of my address is A Graduation Remembered. This morning in a very eloquent sermon, Dr. Philip Quanbeck talked about the difference between teaching and preaching. This isn't going to be a sermon, and it's not going to be a lecture. It's going to be, some will say, a highly egotistical, personal reminiscence, but I'm going to do it anyway. I came out here from Ohio in the fall of 1969 with a new PhD. In retrospect, I believe I had the wrong impression of what a small Lutheran liberal arts college would be like or could be like. I also had a large chip on my shoulder for spending too long on a degree that threatened to send me to the poorhouse almost immediately. But here at Augsburg, I was in for a pleasant surprise. After 10 years of teaching in the bureaucratic state universities of the lower Midwest, I was amazed by the vitality of this college. The faculty was excellent, the students enthusiastic. After years at larger schools where scholars taught their specialties, even in freshman composition classes, I was charmed by the fact that I could sit in the faculty lounge over coffee and talk about the Romantic movement in literature with, of all people, a chemistry professor. I was impressed that a longtime American history teacher knew a great deal about the literature of Central Europe. There were two teachers who were also preachers. Well, there were more than two teachers who were also preachers. But I think I remember particularly two of them, one in the religion department and one in the biology department, who could have doubled as stand-up comics in the Catskills, in Las Vegas, or wherever, only they did it with lots more gentility and decorum, as you might imagine. They were really funny people. Excuse me. In fact, I can't remember a stereotypical professor on the whole faculty, and I think that's a wonderful testimony to this place. So I spent my first year learning the folkways and the mores of Augsburg College, which that year was celebrating its 100th anniversary. What a glorious celebration that was. I particularly remember an Augsburg choir concert at Northrop Auditorium, which was home base for the Minnesota Symphony before many of you graduates were born. I also remember a centennial banquet in the beautiful new Commons, which, by the way, still looks new and beautiful. I think a testimony to Scandinavian husbandry or whiffery, whichever. You have to be careful about that these days. At that event, at that centennial celebration, we were treated to several hours of speeches, which is an Augsburg tradition, including two speeches by the aged nieces of Georg Sverdrup, the college's founder. The women, who had been brought over from Norway for the party, gave their speeches in Norwegian. Long, very long speeches. But I loved that first year at Augsburg anyway. Just before graduation that spring, I received a job offer at a state university in Michigan, where several of my friends were teaching. The money in Michigan was better, obviously. Moreover, scores of private colleges back then were dropping into deep holes. I was sorely tempted to accept the new job offer. My wife and I talked about it, and a decision had to be made. Then graduation day 1970 dawned. For those of you who were still only twinkles in the eyes of your parents, I'll fill you in on 1970. Those days were strife-ridden on college campuses. Augsburg was no exception. The Vietnam War was raging. America was taking stock of itself in a way it had never done before. And it seemed that if faculty and students weren't attending an Augsburg centennial celebration of one sort or another, we were marching on the state capitol or listening to fiery speeches on the common steps or causing some other sort of diverting disruption. But this day in June, back then, was graduation day. Nothing could go wrong. This was a day for celebration, for fancy gowns, for pomp and circumstance. I'm sorry, not pomp and circumstance. At fancy colleges like this, it's more, a Purcell, something like that. It's state colleges that play pomp and circumstance. This is a day for celebration. Nothing could go wrong, but of course, it did. With everyone seated in this very auditorium, President Oscar Anderson, most presidents, by the way, and most people at Augsburg are named Anderson. Oscar Anderson announced the day's speaker, a distinguished nuclear scientist from the Oak Ridge Laboratories in Tennessee. As the scientist approached the lectern, a young man with a bushy beard jumped out of the college band and headed in the direction of that lectern. I should point out that it was not Bob Stack, the director of the band now, although he was in that band. The young man beat the distinguished nuclear scientist to the microphone, grabbed it, and said he had something important to say. A catcall erupted from the balcony. A shout erupted somewhere else. There were catcalls of "sit down, you hippie," from more than a few quarters. And the whole proceeding threatened to fall apart. Elgar's warhorse tune threatened to become pomp and catastrophe. President Oscar Anderson walked up to the bearded young man in the band uniform. He put his arm on his shoulder and then said to the audience, Doug obviously has a heavy heart. He wants to tell us about it. If he has had the courage to come up here to unburden himself in front of all of us, we should extend the courtesy of listening to him. And so that's what we did. The audience became very quiet. I almost sensed thoughtful. The young man nervously and not very articulately said his piece about the immorality of war. Then everyone went back to the business of graduation. We readjusted our fancy gowns, but full of the knowledge that pomp and circumstance paled in comparison to the problems our world faced. That moment when President Oscar Anderson put his arm on Doug's shoulder was for me an epiphany, a moment that somehow did it for me. Cynics might say that Oscar Anderson had no choice but to make the best of an uncomfortable situation. To that I say a resounding no. Had something like Doug happened at the university where I previously taught, the president would have called out the National Guard and requested martial law in 5 counties. And so President Anderson cast my die for me. That night I went home and told Ruth about the exciting graduation, about President Anderson and Doug, and we decided to stay at Augsburg College, whatever the consequences. You know, outside of proposing to my wife the previous autumn, deciding to stay on at Augsburg was one of the only wise decisions I've ever made. Our next 11 years were spent getting to better know the college's students, its faculty, its staff. A spiritual dimension was added to our lives, and we both grew professionally. One year, the college gave me the privilege of taking off a semester to compile a book of interviews with Augsburg graduates from the past 50 years, as this President Anderson has already told you. He spoiled my speech, thank you. Telling Tales Out of School never made the New York Times bestseller list. If it had, my fee for this engagement would have been much, much higher, and I wouldn't have been here. In the semester they gave me off to make the interviews, I met graduates of this college who astounded me. I met remarkable people who had made the ingrained flexibility of a liberal arts education work for them and work for their society. I interviewed a man, for instance, who had majored in biology, but who had spent the rest of his career as a well-known choral composer. I interviewed an athlete who became a very successful businessman. I interviewed a black man, a sharecropper's son from Arkansas, who came to Augsburg in the 1950s to play basketball and later earned a doctorate at Harvard and became first the superintendent of schools in Minneapolis and later superintendent of schools in New York City. I interviewed an Olympic hockey player from the Roaring Twenties who became a scientist. I interviewed scientists who became preachers and preachers who became scientists. I even interviewed some of my own students, recently graduated. One of these former students was a young man who had a special passion for ancient history and the classics. What was he doing in 1975? He was winning big awards for newspaper sports writing. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's great, but I am suggesting it's flexible. Another former student had majored in music at Augsburg and was completing an MD at the University of Michigan. I mention these people to you new graduates so you will know that Augsburg alumni over the years are characterized by a resilience and a variety not often found in the contemporary groves of academe. All 60 of the people I interviewed had 2 other things in common. First, they all had a great respect for Augsburg College and the spirit of inquiry it had fostered in them. Second, they all showed an uncommon willingness to criticize the college whenever they perceived a weakness. They were not afraid to sound off. And when the college establishment saw those criticisms in the manuscript of my book, they did not squelch that book's publication, nor did they delay it. They sent it instead to press. That autumn, Augsburg College based its homecoming theme around the book's contents, warts and all. Think of that, 1993 graduates, as you go out of here. And think also of the tremendous gift that Augsburg College has bestowed upon those graduates who came before you. Remember, it is a gift that also has been bestowed upon you. I realize that's not a gift always easy to understand or to accept. When I think back to my arrival here at Augsburg with my new degree, I know that cynicism was a tempting snake in my garden. I know at this stage of the game, your life isn't easy. Jobs are scarce as your life spreads out before you. The world, you know by now, is a difficult place in which to live. After all the tuition you have paid, after all the petty disappointments suffered over the past 4 years, after all the tiny triumphs that faded from your memory a week later, after all the grades you thought would be A's but turned out to be B's, after that Summa mysteriously turned into a Magna, after job possibilities that didn't materialize disappointed you, after all this, I know it is very easy to be cynical about any college, or at the very least, to take Augsburg College for granted. My advice to you, don't be cynical and don't take Augsburg for granted. Realize that this college is a very special place, a place that examines itself, re-examines itself, a place that commits itself to our community and to the world community as well. Be proud of those commitments and your part in them. Go then from Augsburg and do it proud. Don't forget to lend it your support in the years to come. And Doug, if you're out there in the audience, beardless and band uniformless, with a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew graduating, and you may very well be, my thanks to you, Doug, for helping teach me an important lesson those many years ago. Congratulations to all of you new graduates, and thank you, Augsburg College, for inviting me back.
I'd like to encourage you, Dave, by giving you the words that information that our faculty and students are still as lively and as critical as I think they ever were. I'm not encouraging Doug or anyone else to come up here this afternoon. Where are you? In fact, I couldn't see you if you were out there. You've helped us and given us even more than we expected, and helped make this, as far as I'm concerned, a graduation that will also be remembered. And thank you very much, David. Let's rise and sing the hymn, God of Grace and God of Glory. It's customary at on these occasions to have representatives from the various classes say a few words about their experience, about their hopes, about really whatever they want to speak about. We have three individuals today. I'll simply introduce them, and they'll come forward as the preceding speaker is seated. Argina R. Sellers, representing the graduate students, will be followed by Misty Allen, representing the weekday scheduled students, and then Carol Schmidt, the weekend college scheduled students.
Distinguished guests, faculty, staff, and colleagues, I am honored, yet humbled by this opportunity to speak to you today. I have to digress from my presentation and tell you that there's nothing like making a commitment to speak for commencement when you aren't sure that you finish your thesis. So I have to give special thanks to my thesis advisor, Professor Vincent Peters, and to my academic advisor, Francine Chicolas. As we embarked upon our educational journey here at Augsburg College, focusing our studies in three distinctly different disciplines: leadership, educational leadership, social work, our experiences have been varied, but similar in many aspects. Today, we reflect upon the process of making a decision to come to Augsburg. Those first days for many of us were filled with mixed emotions. Questions came to mind. Can I manage working and going to school on the weekend? Have I selected the right program? How will I finance my education? Will I meet the expectations of my professors? These questions were only a few of many questions addressed by our friendly faculty and staff at orientations. Each professor, in their own way, was willing to support our endeavors while providing a safe, nurturing atmosphere for our growth and development. They told us that we could lean on them for their support each step of the way. In reality, of course, they meant only to a point. We were given the latitude to share our personal and professional experiences from a diversity of cultures, communities, lifestyles, and religions, incorporating these experiences into relevant aspects of our curriculum. These experiences gave us a new sense of power. We must now evaluate our responsibilities to ourselves and to our society. We have become enlightened with a greater vision for a changed tomorrow. While we might be ending our studies here at Augsburg, which many of us will miss, we will rejoice in our achievements. We have completed the requirements for our individual master's programs, but we have not completed our requirements for our contribution to life. The time has come when we must embark upon newer journeys and adventures in our communities. Our experiences here at Augsburg will live on because they are woven into the fabric of our lives. One writer says that education is the harmonious development of the physical, mental, and spiritual powers. We now have a greater spiritual responsibility to our families, professions, and communities to share unselfishly that which has been shared with us here at Augsburg. With deepest and sincere appreciation, we thank the administration, our faculty, staff, and colleagues. You have made a noteworthy contribution to our lives. This experience has been exhilarating, and we will never forget it.
May 23rd, 1993. Although this day has been in our minds for many years, being here today almost does not feel real. How many late nights of studying did you say to yourself, I just can't wait to graduate? Think how much we have changed over the past years. As freshmen, we were scared, always searching for the one right answer or the one right way to do things. We placed great importance on the answers, thinking there was only one answer that could get us that 4.0. We also felt stronger when we were with our friends. Remember how we always traveled in groups? Even needing a friend to come along with us to just pick up our mail. And have we ever been caught eating lunch alone in the cafeteria? What a relief that we have developed a comfort with ourselves, with who we are and how we think. A special thanks to our faculty for helping us strengthen our individuality. We used to be intimidated by our professors, but through our growth, we have learned that we are all partners in the learning process. We have been challenged to open our minds and think in new and different ways. We have learned the importance of open and honest communication, and we have been encouraged to explore areas that were new to us. We were not only challenged in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. As we reflect on our challenges at Augsburg, we can realize just how much our experiences have been shaped and impacted by our attitudes. It was an attitude that we chose to embrace in facing each day that influenced our successes and our failures. Let us all remember what brought us to our successes and learn from our failures. It is common to discredit the hard work that led to our accomplishments. Among these things we have learned, hard work pays off, as evidenced by our presence here today. Today we pause to celebrate our accomplishments and the hard work that brought us here and prepared us for the challenges that lie ahead. Congratulations and good luck.
It is a great honor to represent Weekend College students as their first Weekend College class president. For that, I thank you. The diversity of our student population reflects how many of us are working hard toward a better future for our families and the world. Each of us is somebody that has decided to do something to make a change in our lives. From dreams to reality. That's what today is for many of us. Yesterday, we dreamt of going to college, and today, we are graduating from Augsburg College. Some have referred to Weekend College students as students with a second chance. Each one of us has a story to tell. Some of us have many chapters, and others just a few. But we have all met the challenges, made the sacrifices, and have achieved with success. Our belief in ourselves has brought us to this day. Augsburg's fine faculty has challenged, encouraged, and taught us how to succeed with pride. Students have inspired and befriended each other during their studies on this campus. Our family's sacrifices, joined with our employers' belief in our abilities, have motivated us to educational success. Many believed that we could succeed, and we did. Leading the way in '93 was the theme of Augsburg's first senior class gift campaign. Our whole class, day and weekend college, met the challenge presented by Rod Sill, a 1982 Augsburg graduate, and we participated in the Burwell Challenge for the Augsburg Fund. The graduating class of 1993 is donating a senior class gift of $3,425. With matching funds, our total contribution will be $5,195. These gifts signify our commitment to support the ongoing growth and change that we have been a part of while we were students at Augsburg. We believed that we could make a difference, and we did. We have dreamt a good dream. Now let us continue to live reality with confidence, knowing that we can meet the challenges of tomorrow. Never stop believing that you are somebody that can do something to make a difference. Thank you.
Chairman Burwell, President Anderson, members of the Board of Regents, faculty emeriti, distinguished guests, members of the Augsburg community, alumni, students, families, and friends of the graduating class. On behalf of the faculty of Augsburg College, upon whose recommendation these degrees are granted, and in their name, it is my privilege to present the candidates for the degrees Master of Arts, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Music, and Bachelor of Science. Mr. President, in this, the 124th year of Augsburg College, may I present the class of 1993.
Will the graduates who are to receive the degree Master of Arts in Leadership, Master of Arts in Education, Leadership, and Masters in Social Work please stand at this time? I can't see out there, but all of the men should have their hats on now. We're getting down to formal business. By virtue of the authority entrusted to me by the faculty and the regents of Augsburg College, and upon nomination by the faculty, I now confer upon you who have completed the requirements for the degrees Master of Arts in Leadership, Master of Arts in Education, Leadership, and Masters in Social Work, the appropriate degrees with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. As these degrees are evidence of your successful completion of an advanced college curriculum, may they also always serve as reminders that in life, the highest aim is truth. You may be seated. Will the graduates who are to receive the degree Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Music, or Bachelor of Science, summa cum laude, that is with highest honors, please stand? Please remain standing. Will the graduates who are to receive the degrees Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Music, or Bachelor of Science, magna cum laude, please stand? Will the graduates who are to receive the degrees Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Music, or Bachelor of Science cum laude, that is with honors, please stand? Will all of the graduates of 1993 and those who are to complete their requirements in the summer and fall terms please stand? I will note, as I have for several years at this juncture, that not all of the graduates are standing. These people stand taller, it seems to me, seated in their chairs, than many of the rest of us do when we're on our feet. By virtue of the authority entrusted to me by the faculty, the Board of Regents of Augsburg College, and upon the nomination of the faculty, I now confer upon all those who have completed the requirements or will do so in the fall or this summer the degrees Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Music, or Bachelor of Science with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. As this degree is evidence of your successful completion of a college curriculum, may it always serve as a reminder that in life the highest aim is truth. Please be seated, and you will come forward as directed by the marshals. Dean Ryan LaHerd will announce the names of the members of the class as they come to the platform. Mr. Rodney Burwell, Chairman of the Board of Regents, will join me in the presentation of the diplomas, assisted by Francine Chacolas, the Director of the MSW program. Another tradition at this time of every graduation, I make the request that applause and or other exclamations be held until the entire class has been recognized. Your expressions of approval and satisfaction, or perhaps relief or surprise, and maybe in about 3 instances I know of, these responses, if they can be controlled, and they never are really, but I'm just asking you, it'll be better if you hold them so that we can hear the names of all the people as they're coming forward. We've had questions every year about pictures. Pictures will be taken here. Family are welcome to do that also, but we can't have a big crowd, and don't block the view of the rest of us. We'll proceed now. Just listen for your name. There's nothing that can go wrong. I've told them before. Thank you.
The names of the candidates for graduation will be read alphabetically by degree. 6 degrees will be awarded today: the Master of Arts in Leadership, the Master of Arts in Education Leadership, the Masters in Social Work, the Bachelor of Arts, the Bachelor of Music, and the Bachelor of Science degrees. After reading the names of candidates for the bachelor's degrees, 3 kinds of honors may be announced. First, Latin honors, summa cum laude, with highest honors, magna cum laude with high honors, and cum laude with honors. These honors are based on cumulative grade point average. Candidates with Latin honors wear cords on their shoulders in the school colors maroon and gray. Second, graduates who have completed the college's special general honors program curriculum will be designated honors program graduate. These honors scholars wear gold cords on their shoulders. Finally, students who have completed special curricular requirements with a high average in their major disciplinary area of study will be noted as having received departmental honors. I will begin with the candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Leadership. R. James Addington. Sandra E. Bloom. Donna L. Cannon. Mark E. Croto. Kathleen K. Riopel. Doris Rubenstein. William Grant Tolo. Receiving the degree Master of Arts in Education Leadership, Karen F. Olson. Following students are candidates for the degree Masters in Social Work: Kara Lynn Carlson, Chris E. Christensen, Susan A. Clausen, Nancy J. Coriel, Gerald W. Dungan, Patty A. Hartwig, Brenda Jean Meyer Hubers, William Inthasone, Carrie Sue Johnson, Lisa A. Loveland, Evelyn G. Nelson, Regina R. Sellers, Teresa A. Skretvit. Suzanne Tuttle. Linda Broughton Zachow. Laura Beth Zoet. Following are awarded the degree Bachelor of Arts. Terry Abel. Tiffany J. Abernathy. Soraya Abubakar Ahmed. Eric William Aho. Lisa Marie Alexander, magna cum laude. Misty Rennell Allen. Marcy Lee Amenrud. Sela Marie Amundsen. Brent Corey Anderson. Colby Pierce Anderson. Mark Andreas Anderson. Mark Allen Anderson. Mark D. Anderson. Tanya Lynn Anderson. Tamara K. Andrews, cum laude. Deborah A. Airhood, magna cum laude. Walter Osmus Jr., summa cum laude. Catherine S. Aunen, cum laude. Amy Marie Auney. Troy M. Axelson. Carla Renee Bob. Mark Tay Bacco. Rebecca Ann Belzer. Aaron Douglas Bangsond. Chelsea L. Balaki. Todd Baumgartner. Anna Cherie Beasley. Lisa Carol Becken. Rob Terrence Belschner. Darylyn Jean Belsheim. Melanie Ruth Bench. Robert Nelson Berg. Wendy Jean Bertels. Sharon K. Bazoons. Rita Rose Billington, cum laude. Whitney Victor Blair. Jeffrey R. Board. Jennifer L. Basie, summa cum laude. Dawn Marie Bomback, Departmental Honors in Art History. Mark Patrick Bonin. John Gary Bonneville. Rebecca A. Brasted, magna cum laude. Jan Sterner Bremer, summa cum laude. Kimberly Lynn Brooks, cum laude. Talea Vansea Brown. Sean Brunswick. John Carl Brusso, cum laude. Gary M. Booker, summa cum laude. Michelle Jean Budick, summa cum laude honors program graduate. Christopher Keith Bush, magna cum laude honors program graduate. Atag Yosef Bushen. Daryl B. Carlson, summa cum laude. David Roy Carlson, cum laude. Maren Leah Carlson, cum laude. Lisa Ann Christensen, cum laude. Nancy Christensen, cum laude. Marie E. Chimino, summa cum laude. Todd Stephen Sinna. Carol Joy Coakley, cum laude. Scott Coleman. Deborah Clark Corley, cum laude. Geraldine Cornea, cum laude. Peter Roy Craig. Dean F. Cummings, cum laude. Melissa Ray Danko. Julie Ann Day. Stephen David DeBella, cum laude. Kathleen A. Dice, Mark E. Deming, Susan Colleen Denkinger, cum laude. Sandra Joy Dennis, summa cum laude. Todd Richard DeShepper, cum laude. Jody M. Davinsky. Michelle Marie Dagey, cum laude. Dawn M. Dorman, cum laude. Michael Lawrence Strahota, cum laude. Donald R. Dykoff. Stacy Jo Edlin, summa cum laude, honors program graduate. Kim A. Egan. Jeff Elfstrom. Harold Z. Emmaheiser, summa cum laude. Tanya Kasim English. Janice Patricia Erickson, magna cum laude. Jonathan K. Erickson. Tamara Ray Erickson, summa cum laude, departmental honors in political science, honors program graduate. Matthew Jacob Ernst. Kimberly Ann Ewing, cum laude. Allison Joyce Fox, summa cum laude. Rebecca Sue Felland. Jessica Lee Farrell, cum laude. Eileen A. Ferris. Christian Joe Philstrup, cum laude. Jeffrey S. Finzen. Pamela R. Fish. Jermaine C. Flaxman, cum laude. Brandon D. Fote. Jesse Andrew Foley, cum laude. Jeffrey K. Forseth, cum laude. Julia M. Fratelloni. Anne Elizabeth Freitag, magna cum laude. Andrew Javier Fried. Raiko Josephine Faraya. Eric Charles Fixon. Mary K. Gossadellin. Donald Dean Gulloway II, cum laude. Darren Garrett, cum laude. Angela Ray Gates. Renee L. Geckler. Wendy K. Jensko, magna cum laude. Laura J. Gold. Sherry Lynn Goldman. Marilyn K. Goldsworthy. Adam F. Grage. April Dawn Grant. Chester Lee Grauberger. Patricia L. Gray, magna cum laude, honors program graduate. Melissa Ann Groth, summa cum laude. Kristen K. Gear, cum laude. Stacy Ann Hackett, summa cum laude. Eric D. Hagastoon. Tanaya Hailu. David Richard Henke. Susan M. Hansen. Claire Marie Hansen. Julie K. Hansen. Lisa Marie Hansen, magna cum laude. Nathan W. Hansen, cum laude. Valerie Jean Hansen, summa cum laude. Marcus R. Hardy. Cammie J. Harris. Chad E. Hatton, summa cum laude. Sarah Beth Haugen. Michael Hans Haukus, cum laude. Jennifer Hayden, cum laude. Angela Marie Hazen. Jamie Hedberg. Janine Hyde, magna cum laude. Sarah E. Hines. Tracy Joe Herman. Jonathan William Hess. Margaret A. Hill, summa cum laude. Julie Ann Hillestad. Luke Christian Heinrichs, cum laude. Amy Beth Hintz, cum laude. Lisa Ann Hobright Turner. Lynette Ray Holen. Kurt Raymond Holm, cum laude. Renee Camille Holm, magna cum laude. Julie Lynn Holmquist, cum laude. Vicki Jean Holmstrom, summa cum laude. Timothy Christopher Holt. Nancy Lynette Hughes, summa cum laude. Daniel J. Emery. Karen Marie Inwards. Karen Amelia Jacob. Michael J. Jacobson, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in History, Honors Program graduate. Sarah Jane Jefferson. Lisa K. Jeffrey. Kristen Ann Jesperson, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in Biology. Daniel Adam Johnson, cum laude. Glenn A. Johnson, cum laude. Janet M. Johnson. Leanne Marie Johnson, cum laude. M. G. Dutch Johnson. Timothy Wayne Johnson. Trent Adden Johnson, cum laude. Beth Ann Josephson, summa cum laude. Teresa K. Kane. Carrie Susan Kennedy, cum laude. Carolyn Marie Kylan, magna cum laude. Sylvia J. Killian, cum laude. Charlene Klein. Judith K. Kleinendorst. Angela Mary Kloiber. Jason John Cook, summa cum laude. Jolene Denise Cook. Jennifer Kientop. Janine Marie Colas, cum laude. Robert L. Koshak, magna cum laude. Kim Maria Koshinsky, magna cum laude. Edward R. Kozer. Jeffrey Robert Kringle. Julie Ann Krieg, cum laude. Heidi Jo Krager. Gary S. Krales. Lisa A. Cookluck. Susan Bernice Lobbs, summa cum laude, Honors Program graduate. Lisa Latch. Tony W. Langness. Emily J. Lonick, cum laude, Honors Program graduate. David Lee Tieg Lau, cum laude. Christine Ann LeClaire. Christine Ann Lee, cum laude. Susan Elizabeth Letman. David A. Lavasser, magna cum laude. Jan M. Lewinsky, cum laude. D. W. Lowe, summa cum laude. Benjamin Allen Lorenz. Melissa May Lures. Teresa Aaron Lund. James Andrew Lundell. Sandra Louise Lynch. Sarah J. Lynch, cum laude. Donna I. Magdan, summa cum laude, Honors Program graduate. Bruce Stephen Magnuson. David L. Maharis. Catherine Marie Main, cum laude. Kimberly A. Mayer, magna cum laude. Stacy Ray Malik. Cheryl D. Martin. Alan W. Matz. Angela Wajiko Mburu. Rosalind McDonald Richards. Wendy Burlett Mells, summa cum laude, Honors Program graduate. Tracy Ann Mena, summa cum laude. Gloria L. Mikulski, cum laude. Lisa Ann Studani Middleton, cum laude. Julie Ann Miller. Maria Lynn Miller. Diane Lee Minkle. Shelley Lee Mitchell. Richard Anthony Mitchell, magna cum laude. Roberta K. Moe. Cassandra Carolyn Mooring, cum laude. Linda Diane Moga. Deborah A. Wesley Moore. Edward Peter Morum, cum laude. Mark David Milner. Catherine Ann Murdoch. Sarah Lynn Nactaborn, Departmental Honors in Women's Studies. David Wayne Nelson, magna cum laude. James Willard Nelson. Matthew L. Nelson. Victoria Allison Nelson. Shelley A. Ness, cum laude. Bradley Paul Neubauer. Tony Wynn. Victoria Twin Wynn. Patricia A. Norby, summa cum laude. Andrea Marie Norling. Elisa Jo Norvold. Tornia Danielle Norwood. Troy Darrell Nineheis. Jean F. Obert. Terry Allen O'Konik. Jeffrey C. Olmscheid. Peter Edwin Osberg. Susan Jean Overland, magna cum laude. Renee Ellen Paulson, cum laude. Krista Lee Pearson, magna cum laude, honors program graduate. Mark R. Pearson. Kathy Grace Ostrom Peters, departmental honors in art history. Laura Beth Peterson, summa cum laude. Shelley Peterson. Lynn B. Pham, cum laude. Scott A. Phillips. Sherry Denise Phillips, cum laude. Jane K. Beck Phipps. Penelope Pat Picard, summa cum laude. Marilee K. Poe, magna cum laude. Rachel Lee Popple. Michelle Elizabeth Powers. Stephen Clarence Pasick. Elizabeth Ann Pushing. Mary L. Pyman. Shirley Radis. Theodore Edward Reif. Carol Jean Reinboth. Amy Beth Rice. Lindley Elizabeth Richards. Nicole R. Robinson, cum laude. Dawn J. Rodal, cum laude. James Patrick Rosenberg. Devin Guy Ross. Theodore E. Rossing, cum laude, departmental honors in theater arts. Krista Lynn Rossnagel, cum laude. Rachel K. Rothnam. Nestor Joel Rova, cum laude. Jennifer Lynn Rovick, cum laude. Michael Ryan. Dana Marie Riding, cum laude. Catherine McHugh Rigmer, departmental honors in women's studies. John A. Sander, cum laude. Sherry Kathleen Sanders. Maya Santa Maria, summa cum laude. Shayna Lee Schaefer. Troy David Scheffel. Carol May Simonson Schmidt. Ronald M. Schneider. Jana Friesen Schultz. Shannon Schultz. Christine A. Schultz. Leslie Schwartz. Ilsa Christine Schwarzkopf. Amy Marie Schwegman. Jonathan J. O. Seacrest, magna cum laude. Veronica Lynn Sinker, summa cum laude. Sally A. Seville, cum laude. Shelley Ann Seymour. John Dennis Sheehan. Rain M. Sheehan, magna cum laude. Rose Ann Sherman, summa cum laude. Chad Dallas Shilson. Susan Margaret Siegfried, magna cum laude. Tanya L. Sikorsky. Scott David Silver. Carolyn M. Singer, magna cum laude. Tanya Ann Sissel, Departmental Honors in Women's Studies. Carrie Elizabeth Skradsky. Jake Carey Slagers, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in Communication, Honors Program graduate. Carrie Lee Smith. Eric Obert Smith, cum laude. Gina M. Smith, summa cum laude. Nicole Renee Smith. Kari Lynn Snyder. Kari Lynn Sordum, summa cum laude. Chad Spitzer. Ann Kristen Sputstozer, cum laude. Peter Warren Steen. Roxy L. Stenglein, magna cum laude, honors program graduate. Daryl K. Stewart. Tammy R. Stoll, magna cum laude. Joelle Stone, cum laude. Jonathan C. Stowe. Jill Marie Stubbs. Feline F. Sunquist, cum laude. Martin Lawrence Sunquist. Kimberly Ann Swanson. Carrie Elaine Swartz, magna cum laude. Dean C. Swenson, cum laude. Stephen John Taft, Departmental Honors in Art History. Harumi Takashima, summa cum laude. William Irwin Templin. Kari Ann Turstick. Linda L. Tetzlaff, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in English, Honors Program graduate. Vo Van Tung. Noelle Christine Thine, magna cum laude. Timothy J. Tyson. Gary Jean Thompson. Jennifer Ann Thulin. Sherry Lynn Tomford. Anjanette K. Tonoli. Holly Renee Torstensen. Charles Joseph Tremblay. Dale Van Every. Christina Van Ruden. William Hunt Vanderwall, cum laude. Bruce Allen Vassar. Rhonda P. Vensky, magna cum laude. Eric Loring Vlossen. Eric Richard Vogan. C. Luminita Volmer. Teresa Ann Von Bargen. Tammy Lynn Von Bargen Otto. Dawn Elizabeth Wagoner. Victoria K. Walls, cum laude. Carol Elizabeth Wagner. Kimberly Jo Waylagi. Paul C. Wellens, magna cum laude. Kimberly Louise Wells. Daniel Mark Wenzel. Mary Janine Whalen. William Michael White. I think I have a missing card. I think I have a missing card. John Worley. Let's see. Phyllis Denise Williams. Sherry A. Willis, cum laude. Heidi Lane Wisner, magna cum laude, honors program graduate. Holly Kathleen Yeager. Louise Margaret Yenny. Jacqueline D. Young. Kristen Michelle Youngquist. Deborah K. Zacarda. Lori McPartland Zins, cum laude. Christine M. Zook. The degree Bachelors of Music. Mark Andrew Barrett. Jennifer K. Evenson, magna cum laude. Stephanie Renee Miller. Nikki Teresa Schott. The degree Bachelor of Science. Jennifer K. Abel. Heidi M. Anderson, summa cum laude. Anastasia Brensick, cum laude. Margaret Ann Brown, magna cum laude, departmental honors in nursing. Sally J. Arkin Bull. Sissy Caldwell. Vang Yilang Chang. Mark A. Klassen. Cynthia M. Clemens. Juanita Judy Cutler, magna cum laude. Joe Edward Dahlman. Elisa DeRider, cum laude. Patty Rager Breen Drawheim, cum laude. Jody Lynn Friesen. Charlene Terrace Gulsvig, magna cum laude. Stephen Ross Hellerud, cum laude. Eric J. Helly. Stephanie Riggs Hildreth, summa cum laude. Catherine Janice Hillstrom, magna cum laude. Susan K. Ross Hoya, magna cum laude. Kathleen Ann Jacobs, cum laude. Yvonne L. Jacobson. Ann Elizabeth Jelinek. Christopher D. Johnson, magna cum laude. Charles A. Jorgensen, cum laude. Arlo L. Karen, magna cum laude. Lisa R. Kiesel, summa cum laude. Susan Lee Kissel, cum laude. Sherry Lynn Knaus. Rebecca Ann Cordall, magna cum laude. Sonia J. Kowal, cum laude. Gregory R. Lombach, cum laude. Louise Eileen Lewis. Linda Jean Lindquist. Kara Marie Malmgren, cum laude. Deborah Lynn Miller, magna cum laude. Leslie Ann Moore, cum laude. Kim Lone T. Wynn, magna cum laude. Charlotte M. Nizgaki. Carla J. Noyes. Shelley Curry O'Neill, magna cum laude. Lori Ann Palmer, cum laude. Michelle K. Rosine. Nancy C. Solman, cum laude. Alicia Florence Shefflin. Shirley A. Subkevich, summa cum laude. Esteline St. John. Lori R. Stromberg, cum laude. Sherry Carnes Templeman, magna cum laude, departmental honors in nursing. Lois Van Dyke, magna cum laude. Patricia J. Wagner. Becky K. Warziniak, magna cum laude. Pamela Sue Wise, summa cum laude. Lisa Marie Woolwagi, cum laude. Vicki A. Benell Weiss, magna cum laude.
All the alumni in the audience will probably rise up in wrath, but I think this is not only the largest, but probably the best class. Now that you have had a degree, which you've earned, conferred upon you, if you're at all interested, you can change your tassel around. No longer right, but left. I'd like to ask Lisa Alexander to come forward, please. you want to read a little bit about the award? Okay. In 1990, the family and friends of Marina Christensen Justice, a one-time student at Augsburg, established a permanent endowment in her honor. Marina had been a teacher, a lobbyist, and an advocacy lawyer, working particularly on behalf of the poor and disenfranchised in Indiana, then Washington, D.C., and finally in Chicago, Illinois, where she died the victim of a mugger who realized about $4 from the robbery. In her memory, each year an award is given to a graduating senior who represents, in a high degree, Augsburg's motto of education for service, particularly among disadvantaged people and communities. The individual who has been chosen to receive the award this year represents over 600 students who are engaged in this type of activity at Augsburg. Lisa Alexander has demonstrated a dedication to the kind of community involvement that characterized the personal and professional life of Marina Christensen Justice. Beginning in her first year at Augsburg and starting right here in the neighborhood, Lisa was involved with the Curry Center, tutoring a young boy and working in the food bank. She continued this work for the next 2 years. She was also a regular volunteer at Our Savior's Shelter for the Homeless and worked with a grassroots organization called Alliance of the Streets, whose mission is to energize poor and homeless people to make life better for themselves and others in their situation. Lisa was co-chair of the Campus Ministry Peace and Justice Committee and a panel member of a statewide teleconference this spring which addressed racism on college campuses. Her senior sociology thesis and independent study was on the issues of poverty and racism. Most recently, she has been working with the governor's task force under the Minnesota Planning Agency called Action for Children, which is charged with redesigning and coordinating easier access of services for children and single-parent families. In all that she has done, Lisa Alexander's personal dedication to working for justice and equality for all people truly reflects Augsburg's motto of education for service. And I've known her for some time, and I'm sure she's terribly embarrassed at this whole business, but here you are. I want to remind you of the reception, and while I was busy trying to greet Jason Cook as he came across, he said, the reception is in the College Center, Christensen Center. So we have to assume that he is correct, and it's still raining, but you are invited to that immediately after this service. I want to thank you all for coming and for making this event possible. We thank the graduates for these years. You have one more task now in addition to finding a job, and that is to find someone to take your place here at the school. I want to thank parents and friends, some from only a few blocks away and others who have come from across the oceans. We all want to thank the faculty. It is faculty who will be remembered and blessed by students in the years ahead. And a special thanks today to two persons who are retiring, Phil Quanbeck and John Holum, after a total of, I think, about 70 years teaching. That's their together, added up, not... why don't you, I see Phil, where's John? Is John somewhere? Where is he? All right, there's two, stand up. What? Phil always corrects me, and one of us is wrong. I don't think Irv is retiring right now, is he? Is Irv Mickelberg retiring at this time? At the end of the fall term. We'll greet you now because we have no celebration at the end of the fall term. Irv Mickelberg, biology. Come on. I want to thank the staff who support the venture, the regents whose representatives are here, who guide the paths, and the donors who help us on our way. We thank all of you, And in our closing hymn, we are reminded of the source of every good and also give thanks to God. Please rise for the closing hymn.
Following the short prayer and the benediction, we ask all of those not graduating to be seated so that you can enjoy the recessional. Let us pray. O God, help us to dedicate our lives to you, that we will do what is pleasing to you. Help us to realize that what is pleasing to you is not outward conformity to the standards of this world, but an inward transforming of our lives. And now let us depart in peace. May God direct our days and our deeds with values that are lasting and purposeful. Go in peace.